Ever felt that chill creeping up your spine when the house goes quiet? When the shadows seem to move, and every sound feels wrong? Tonight, we're diving deep into the darkness, into worlds where evil hides behind the silence and fear breathes down your neck. From cursed videotapes to haunted souls, these stories will make you think twice before turning off the lights. So grab your blanket, lock your doors, and don't look behind you, because this is the top 10 horror movies that will terrify you when alone. 1. The Conjuring, 2013. A family moves into an old farmhouse, only to awaken something that was never meant to be disturbed. It always starts quietly, doesn't it? A family searching for peace, for space, for a new beginning. The Perrons thought they'd found it, an old farmhouse in Rhode Island, surrounded by fields and open sky. But the thing about old houses is, they remember. Every laugh, every scream, every death. The walls hold secrets, and some of them refuse to stay silent. On the first night, it was nothing, a door creaking open, the faint sound of children's laughter echoing from nowhere. Then came the bruises, cold drafts that seemed to follow, a foul smell that lingered only in certain rooms. The kind of small, unexplainable things you try to ignore, until you can't anymore. Carolyn, the mother, was the first to feel it, a heaviness pressing on her chest at 3:07 a.m. every night. The clock always stopped at that time, as if time itself froze to let something through. The children began playing a game called hide and clap, harmless fun, until the clapping started on its own. From the shadows, from the closet, from inside the walls. Imagine standing in a dark hallway, blindfolded, and hearing two faint claps right behind you. That sound, so innocent, yet so mocking, became the heartbeat of their terror. When Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived, they didn't just see a haunting. They felt a darkness that was ancient, malicious, patient. Lorraine, the clairvoyant, could sense the thing feeding on the family's fear, growing stronger with every scream. It wasn't haunting the house, it was possessing it. The spirit of a witch who had cursed the land, swearing to drag every soul who lived there into the pit of despair she called home. The nights grew longer. The walls shook with invisible rage. Carolyn's body became a vessel, her eyes no longer her own. The house wanted her, her warmth, her love, her life. The Warrens fought with prayers, faith, and desperation, but even faith trembles when it faces true evil. And when the silence finally came again, it wasn't peace, it was the house waiting, listening, breathing, because evil doesn't die, it sleeps, waiting for someone else to move in, to make the same mistake, to believe they're safe. So the next time you hear a sound in the dark, a whisper, a knock, or maybe just a faint clap, don't tell yourself it's the wind. Don't turn on the light. Just listen, and remember the Perrons, because once, they thought it was nothing too. 2. Insidious, 2010. A family's son falls into a mysterious coma, only for his spirit to be trapped in a dark realm where demons wait to take his body. You think nightmares end when you wake up, but what if they begin the moment you close your eyes? Insidious doesn't just haunt houses, it haunts sleep itself. It begins quietly, with a loving family moving into a new home, laughter echoing through freshly painted rooms. But peace never lasts long in horror stories, does it? Especially when something unseen starts watching from the corners. One night, young Dalton hears a noise in the attic, the kind of sound you tell yourself is just the house settling. But then comes the silence, the kind of silence that feels alive. Moments later, a scream. By morning, Dalton doesn't wake up. No doctor can explain why. His heart beats, his body lives, but his soul is gone. His parents, Josh and Renee, do what every parent would, they move, hoping to leave the nightmare behind. But evil doesn't care about walls or addresses. It follows. The whispers continue. The baby monitor hisses with voices that aren't human. Footsteps echo down empty hallways. And at night, Renee swears she sees someone standing behind the curtain, still as death, waiting. Then comes the further, a place beyond sleep, beyond death, a cold, endless void filled with lost souls and things that wear human faces like masks. Dalton's spirit is trapped there, wandering in darkness, and something wants his body. A demon with a face like red fire and eyes like coal. The kind of creature that doesn't need to chase you, because it already knows where you'll hide. A psychic and her team arrive, armed with candles and courage, to guide Josh into the further. It's not just a rescue, it's a descent. Imagine walking through rooms filled with whispers, photographs that move when you're not looking, and shadows that smile when you turn your back. Every corner holds a memory, twisted and wrong. Every breath feels borrowed. And then, in the blackest silence, Josh finds his son, but behind him, that red-faced demon grins, razor claws scraping the air, waiting for its chance. Because Insidious isn't about ghosts, it's about losing yourself. Literally. When the lights flicker, and you feel that twinge in your chest before sleep, remember Dalton, remember the further, because once your spirit slips too far, no one can guarantee it'll find its way back. 3. Hereditary, 2018. A grieving family discovers that their bloodline hides a terrifying legacy, one that hungers for a new vessel to carry on its curse. Some horrors don't come from outside your home. They live inside you, passed down through whispers, glances, and blood. Hereditary isn't just a movie about loss, it's a slow, suffocating descent into madness, where grief itself becomes a monster. It begins with a funeral. Annie Graham, an artist who crafts miniature models of her life, stands before her mother's coffin, her voice trembling as she says goodbye to a woman she never truly understood. But the dead don't always stay buried, and secrets, like mold, have a way of spreading. That house, filled with the scent of sawdust and grief, starts to feel wrong. Not haunted, exactly, more like watched. At night, Annie sees her mother's outline in the shadows. Her son, Peter, feels eyes on him even in daylight. And her daughter, Charlie, that strange, quiet girl who clicks her tongue when she's nervous, begins to draw things she couldn't possibly know. Then one night, on a lonely road, tragedy strikes. A single, horrific moment tears the family apart. But in Hereditary, death isn't the end of suffering, it's only the invitation. The house grows darker. Annie's models start to mirror things she hasn't yet lived. Peter hears a clicking sound in his dreams, click, click, and wakes up gasping, sweat running cold down his spine. There's something ancient moving through their grief, patient and cruel, weaving its curse through every crack in their sanity. When Annie turns to a seance for answers, she doesn't call back her daughter, she calls something else. Something that's been waiting, generation after generation, for the perfect host. Its name has been whispered before, hidden in symbols carved into walls, drawn beneath floorboards. Paimon, a king of hell, and now, it wants a body, one of their own. What follows isn't loud or bloody. It's quiet, icy, the kind of fear that crawls up your spine and sits behind your eyes. Every scene feels like a dream you can't wake from, until the nightmare becomes too real to deny. By the time the truth is revealed, you'll realize the title wasn't just about family. It was a warning. Some inherit money, some inherit memories, but some inherit evil. So next time you feel the weight of your family's past pressing on you, ask yourself, what, exactly, did they pass down? And when the lights go out, listen closely, you might hear it too. Click, click. 4. The Babadook, 2014. A grieving mother and her troubled son are haunted by a sinister presence that emerges from a mysterious children's book. Do you believe that grief can take shape? That pain so deep, so unresolved, could turn into something that breathes, whispers, and waits? The Babadook isn't just a monster movie, it's the kind of horror that hides beneath the skin, feeding on sorrow until it becomes real enough to touch. Amelia thought she was just tired, a single mother, exhausted, trying to raise her son Samuel after her husband's death. The nights were the worst. Samuel's screams echoing through the dark, his eyes wide, pointing at something she couldn't see. She told herself it was just nightmares, just a phase, but then came the book. It appeared one night on Samuel's shelf, black cover, thick pages, and a title written like a warning, Mr. Babadook. She opened it, thinking it was a harmless storybook. The drawings were odd, jagged shapes. A tall shadow in a top hat, creeping closer with every turn of the page. The final lines read, "If it's in a word or in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook." And when she tried to destroy it, it came back. The scratching began in the walls, Doors creaked open. The house groaned like it was alive. And in the darkness, she saw him, that tall, twisted silhouette with long fingers. Clicking, whispering, waiting. The Babadook doesn't attack you right away. It wears you down. It feeds on your grief, your exhaustion, your guilt, until the voice inside your head stops sounding like your own. Amelia started to lose time. Her eyes grew hollow. Her hands trembled. And Samuel's cries turned from fear to begging her not to let it in. But the truth is, the Babadook was already inside. It didn't crawl through the window or the floorboards, it crawled through her sorrow. It had always been there, waiting for her to break. By the time she realized what was happening, it was too late to escape. The only way to survive wasn't to destroy it, but to accept it. To feed it just enough to keep it quiet. Because some monsters aren't meant to be killed, they're meant to be managed. And that's the haunting genius of the Babadook. It's not about what's under the bed or hiding in the closet, it's about what's inside you. The kind of fear that whispers when you're alone and grieving, reminding you that sometimes the scariest place in the world is your own mind. 5. Paranormal Activity, 2007. A young couple sets up cameras in their home to capture what's haunting them, only to discover that evil doesn't need to be seen to be real. What's scarier than the dark? The idea that something's there, watching, waiting, and you can't prove it. Paranormal Activity thrives on that fear. It's not the kind of movie that screams at you with monsters or blood. It whispers, it watches, it builds tension until you can barely breathe. Katie and Micah seemed like any young couple, playful, curious, living in a quiet suburban house where nothing ever happens. But lately, Katie feels a presence. She's felt it before, since childhood. Something that follows her. Something that never left. So Micah, being the skeptic, decides to film everything, just to see what's really going on. Big mistake. At first, it's almost laughable. A door creaks open. Footsteps echo when no one's home. A shadow flickers across the wall. You think, maybe it's the wind, but every night, the camera captures something new, something bolder. Sheets moving by themselves. A whisper caught in the static. The thud of invisible footsteps coming up the stairs. You don't see the evil, but you feel it. The beauty, and the terror, of Paranormal Activity lies in its simplicity. There's no music to warn you. No dramatic cues. Just silence. And that eerie hum of the night. You watch from the corner of the room. Helpless. Waiting for the next thing to happen. The camera doesn't blink. You can't look away. As nights go by, the presence grows stronger. It starts with subtle movements. Then scratches. Then dragging noises. Until one night, Katie stands beside the bed for hours. Completely still. Staring at Micah as he sleeps. No sound. No scream. Just the faint ticking of time and the slow, sinking realization that she's no longer herself. It's not a haunting. It's an attachment. A demon that's followed her for years. Feeding on fear. Waiting for the moment when she's weakest. And once it's inside, there's no exorcism. No escape. Just silence and a camera still recording. By the end, you'll find yourself glancing toward your own doorway, half expecting to see something move. That's the genius of Paranormal Activity. It doesn't end when the credits roll. It follows you home. So tonight, when you turn off the lights and the house settles into quiet, listen closely. That faint creak you hear in the hallway? Maybe it's just the floor. Or maybe it's something that finally found you. 6. The Ring, 2002. A mysterious videotape kills anyone who watches it within 7 days, unless they uncover the curse's terrifying secret. It begins with a rumor, the kind of story whispered at sleepovers, laughed off before bedtime. A videotape that kills you 7 days after you watch it. You roll your eyes, tell yourself it's just a story, until the phone rings. Until a voice whispers, 7 days. The Ring doesn't rely on gore or loud scares. It's colder than that. It creeps under your skin and stays there. When journalist Rachel Keller's niece dies suddenly, with her face frozen in silent horror, Rachel starts digging. She finds the tape, a collection of eerie, fragmented images. A woman brushing her hair in a mirror. A ladder against a wall. A well in an open field. It doesn't make sense, but somehow, it feels wrong, alive. She watches it, and that's when the countdown begins. One phone call, One whispered warning. 7 days to live. You can almost feel the air shift around her, like the world itself is holding its breath. As Rachel races to uncover the origin of the curse, the truth unravels like an old film reel. A little girl named Samara, strange, quiet, unloved, could project images into people's minds. Her gift, or her curse, twisted into madness. The people around her saw only a monster, so they locked her away. Until one day, they threw her into a well and left her there, trapped in darkness for 7 long days. 7 days, until she died. But Samara didn't stay dead. Her rage, her pain, her loneliness, all of it burned into that videotape. Every time someone watches, she's reborn, crawling through static, through screens, through fear itself. The closer Rachel gets to the truth, the colder everything feels. The lights flicker, the TV turns on by itself. Water drips from the ceiling, even though it hasn't rained. And then, that moment, that unforgettable moment, when Samara climbs out of the television. Her hair wet, her movements jerky, her eyes hollow. You want to look away, but you can't, because The Ring isn't just about a ghost, it's about the way horror spreads. How fear infects the curious. How you can't help but look, even when you know you shouldn't. So ask yourself, if someone handed you that tape right now, could you resist? Could you not watch it? Because the scariest part isn't what happens on the screen. It's wondering if, somewhere in the dark, she's already watching you. 7. Sinister, 2012. A true crime writer discovers old home videos that reveal a horrifying supernatural presence lurking behind a series of murders. There's something uniquely unsettling about old home movies, the flickering frames, the distant laughter, the sound of life preserved on fragile film. But what if those moments weren't memories at all? What if they were warnings? In Sinister, Ellison Oswalt, a struggling true crime writer, moves his family into a house with a dark past, though he conveniently leaves that part out when his wife asks. He's chasing inspiration, desperate for one last great book. In the attic, he finds a box of 8mm films, labeled innocently enough. Pool Party, 66. BBQ, 79. Family Hanging Out, 11. But when the projector clicks to life and the film begins to roll, what he sees is anything but innocent. Each reel starts the same, happy families enjoying their day. But then, the scenes twist into something unspeakable. A family drowned in their pool, another burned alive in their car, one hanging from a tree like macabre ornaments. There's no explanation, no warning, just the haunting soundtrack of old films spinning. But in every video, Ellison notices a shadow, a figure, pale, still, watching from the edge of the frame. He pauses the reel, zooms in, and there it is, a face that doesn't belong to this world. The ancient demon Bughul, the eater of children, hidden inside the footage like a curse that feeds on attention. Once you see him, he sees you. Once you watch, you're part of his story. Ellison becomes obsessed. Sleep fades into insomnia, nights into dread. He hears footsteps in the attic, laughter echoing through the walls, the creak of film spinning when the projector hasn't been touched. The more he watches, the deeper he's pulled in, as if the reels themselves are whispering to him, begging to be played again. And then come the children, silent, ghostly figures caught between worlds, victims turned servants. Their hollow eyes follow him in the dark. The truth hits too late. Every family murdered once lived in the same house as the previous victims. Each time, one child disappeared. Each time, a new film was added to the box in the attic. There's something primal about Sinister, not the loud scares or the blood, but the silence, the tension that coils tighter with every frame. It's the horror of curiosity, the price of looking too long into the dark. You can't stop watching, even when your gut tells you to. So if you ever find a box of old films sitting where they don't belong, don't press play. Don't try to understand, just leave the house, and whatever watches from the shadows, behind. 8. The Grudge, 2004. A curse born from rage traps anyone who enters its haunted home in a cycle of death and despair. Some houses feel wrong the moment you step inside. The air feels heavier, the silence deeper, as if the walls are holding their breath, waiting. In The Grudge, that silence hides something ancient and unstoppable. A curse that doesn't rest. A curse that follows. It begins in a quiet Tokyo home. A place where tragedy once took root. When someone dies in the grip of powerful rage, that fury doesn't fade, it becomes a stain. An echo that infects everyone who dares to enter. This is the curse of Ju-on. Once it touches you, there's no escape. It clings like smoke, crawling beneath your skin, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Karen, an American nurse working abroad, is assigned to care for an elderly woman in that very house. But she doesn't know the story, doesn't know about Kayako, the woman who died there in madness, or her son Toshio, whose meows echo through the halls like something between human and animal. She only knows that the house feels wrong. The shadows seem thicker, the sounds linger too long. Then she finds the attic, and what she finds there changes everything. You might think you'd run, but curiosity is a cruel thing. The more Karen learns, the deeper she sinks into the curse's web, a cycle of horror that began long before her and will continue long after she's gone. Every new victim becomes another whisper in the house, another soul trapped in the blackness of Kayako's rage. There's something especially terrifying about the Grudge because it doesn't play by the rules. You can't fight it, can't reason with it, can't even understand it. The curse doesn't care if you believe or not, it just is. It follows you to your home, to your bed, into your dreams. It's the ultimate nightmare, a haunting that doesn't end with sunrise. What makes it worse isn't the jump scares, but the quiet moments, the phone that rings with no one there, the slow creak of a door in an empty house, the faint scratching from the ceiling when you're alone. You tell yourself it's just the wind, but deep down, you know better. Kayako's pale face, the sound of bones cracking, the way her black hair spills across the floor, these images stay with you long after the credits roll. Because The Grudge isn't just a story, it's a reminder that some places should stay untouched, some doors should never open. So the next time you hear a soft creak from the attic or a low, throaty croak in the dark, don't look up, don't move, just hope the curse hasn't found you yet. 9. It Follows, 2014. A mysterious curse hunts its victims relentlessly, taking any human form and walking toward them until death. There's a special kind of fear that comes not from what's fast, loud, or monstrous, but from what simply won't stop coming. It Follows takes that fear, strips away the noise, and leaves you with pure dread, because the thing chasing you never runs. It just walks, slowly, patiently, and it will never stop. Jay thought her biggest worry was love, young, reckless, fleeting love, but after one night with a new boyfriend, she wakes to a horrifying truth. He's passed something on to her. A curse, an entity that takes the form of anyone, a stranger, a friend, even someone you love. You'll see it walking toward you, and no one else will. Once it reaches you, you die, unless you pass it on to someone else. But even then, you're never safe, because if that person dies, it comes back for you, always. It Follows is quiet horror at its most haunting. There are no priests, no exorcisms, no rules written in dusty books. Just one cruel simplicity: keep moving, or it finds you. Imagine walking through a park at dusk, seeing a lone figure in the distance. They're not running, they're not shouting, just walking, straight toward you, step by step. Would you know if it was real? Jay tries to outrun it, to hide, to fight back. But how do you fight something that never tires? Something that can wear any face? One minute it's an old woman in a hospital gown. The next it's your best friend standing silent in the hallway. That's the brilliance of It Follows. The terror doesn't scream, it breathes down your neck quietly, steadily. The film plays with your nerves like a slow, winding melody. Every shadow might hide it, every reflection might reveal it, and the paranoia never ends, not for Jay, and not for you. The viewer, you'll find yourself scanning the background of every frame, searching for someone, anyone, walking just a little too directly toward the camera. The real nightmare isn't the curse itself. It's what it means, the inescapable feeling of guilt, consequence, and mortality, the idea that no matter how fast we run, something is always coming for us. Whether it's time, death, or the echoes of our mistakes, it follows. By the time the final scene fades, you'll find yourself glancing over your shoulder, Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's someone just walking by. But once you've seen, it follows. That slow, steady walk will never look the same again. So tonight, if you're watching alone, and you see someone in the distance moving toward you, don't blink. Don't look away. Just remember, it's already following. 10. The Autopsy of Jane Doe, 2016. A father and son uncover terrifying secrets hidden within the body of an unidentified woman. It starts simple. A quiet morgue, a nameless corpse, a routine autopsy on a stormy night. But if horror has taught us anything, it's that the calmest places can hold the loudest screams. The Autopsy of Jane Doe doesn't throw monsters at you. It buries its terror under skin and silence. And as the scalpel cuts deeper, so does the fear. Tommy and Austin Tilden, a father and son working as coroners in a small-town morgue, think it's just another case. The sheriff brings in the body of a beautiful young woman, pale, unmarked, perfectly preserved, no signs of struggle, no blood, no explanation. She shouldn't look that perfect. She shouldn't still bleed, but she does. They begin the autopsy, one incision at a time. And with each layer, the mystery turns darker. Her lungs are charred, as if she'd been burned alive, yet her skin shows no trace of fire. Her tongue is missing. Symbols are carved deep inside her body, like a message from something ancient. Every discovery feels like trespassing into something sacred or cursed. Then the power flickers. The radio crackles with static. A bell chimes softly, somewhere it shouldn't. The dead in the morgue begin to move. And suddenly, Tommy and Austin realize they aren't alone anymore. Whatever killed Jane Doe isn't gone. It's still here, waiting, watching. The fear in the Autopsy of Jane Doe doesn't come from gore or jump scares. It's in the quiet dread of not knowing what's coming next. You can almost hear the heartbeat under her still chest, the whisper of something ancient that refuses to die. And as the storm rages outside, the morgue becomes a prison, each door closing tighter as if the building itself wants them trapped. There's a heartbreaking intimacy in watching the father and son fight, not just the horror around them, but the growing realization that they're part of something unstoppable. The closer they get to understanding Jane Doe, the closer they come to their own undoing. Every choice they make feels like peeling back a curse that's been sleeping for centuries. By the end, it's no longer just about a corpse. It's about the haunting idea that evil doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just lies there, quiet, waiting to be found. And when you do, it looks right back at you. So if you ever find yourself in a dark room, the air too still, the silence too heavy, imagine the sound of a scalpel meeting skin. Imagine a body that shouldn't move, but does. Because Jane Doe isn't dead. She's listening. And now, the lights are back on. But something still lingers, doesn't it? That uneasy feeling that someone, or something, might be standing just behind you. These 10 films don't just scare you, they stay with you, whispering in the dark long after the credits fade. So tell me, which one will you dare to watch alone tonight? If you felt the chills crawling down your spine, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There are darker stories waiting for you in the next night's watch.